Happy Schoolhouse and our ongoing series of pro lighting in the home studio. Part 6, dramatic boudoir lighting. So if you're new to this series, the whole principle of this series of broadcasts is how to work in a home studio, limited space, and still come away with professional results that you can sell. And that's the underlying thing. The reason, of course, many photographers are just working out of their homes today. Commercial space is expensive and it can eat you alive. So I want to show you, we're in basically a living room. You've seen it before if you watch the other broadcasts. And all we're going to do here is do some boudoir lighting that anybody can do in just about any size room. Now, let me just talk about why dramatic boudoir lighting, just for a second. I see a lot of boudoir photography being posted on Facebook, usually, Instagram, whatever, by photographers, good photographers, and it all has kind of this monotonous similarity to it. They're always models on a bed with a white sheet and a different colored bustier or whatever, and I see a lot of that, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's all good stuff. You should definitely have that in your arsenal. But from a marketing standpoint, I believe the thing to do is to not do what everybody else is doing. And that's where things like this really come into play. So it's pretty easy to set up. I'm going to show you the two lights. I don't know, can camera 2 get the lights? So we have basically two strip lights. These are 9-inch by 36-inch strip lights, one on each side, and if you can see, they have egg crates in them. Now a strip light already narrows the beam of light coming out, so it's not splashing all over the place. And the egg crates even narrow it further down. So if you can see the wall in behind me, just an average gray wall, it's still getting some light from the lights, just not a lot. And I like shooting this kind of style up against a gray wall, simply because I'm probably going to add some digital backgrounds to it in post-production. I'm going to try, after this session is over, I'm going to try and post some of those to Facebook so you can see what I mean about digital backgrounds, how easy it is to drop them in. So with that being said, we're going to bring back Shayna. You remember Shayna, she's been with us a few times now. Come on in, Shayna. She's agreed to be our model for tonight. Now, here's the deal with this kind of lighting. So we have light coming in from the side. Take a step forward. Now, look straight at the, and even more. Another step forward. So what happens, you can see the light hitting her arms on either side, but there's a shadow going down the middle. Even take a step back now. So even at this point, the shadow down the center line is fairly dramatic, and that's the whole point of this lighting. So she's not going to make an awful lot of eye contact with the camera for this shoot. It's about looking off camera in different directions, usually towards one light or the other. Now the way that I've set this right now, so the light on camera right is about half the power of the light on camera left. But it could be the same power. In fact, we'll be changing intensities as we progress through the shoot. And I'm going to do that because I'm using this Elechrome Skyport system, and I can control the lights right from my phone. A little bit easier than running around, climbing up and making adjustments. And I just hit the wrong button, so I probably ruined everything. No, we're all good. Okay, let's take a couple of shots just to see where we're at. So for this first pose, I'm going to have you look towards that light. And let me just see, let me frame it up, do a test. And then if you'd push that stool just behind the sofa. There we go. So the light is pretty intense on her face, so I'm going to cut that down a little bit. And her black, what is that? It's a shawl, it's a cardigan, her black cardigan. Because the light's coming off from the side, it's really covering off the garment. The garments are really vibrant purple, and I want to show that. So I'm going to change the exposure, and we're going to change the wardrobe just a little bit. And you can see a dramatic difference. Now notice how half her face is white, half her face is almost black. So what you want to do is you can play with your hands on your hips or on, like you're doing now, and turn more into that light. And there we get a much better kind of look. Let me just check the histogram. Histogram says we're bang on for exposure. So now it's just a matter of trying poses that you like. Now, Shane is a professional model, so she's going to pose all by herself, but believe me, that is not the person that comes walking in your studio. You're going to have to give them every single instruction you can think of. And what I like to do is I sit them down with a bunch of sample poses. Can camera 2 pick this up?
Hey, great.
And I have them go through them and pick the poses that they like the most. And then during the shoot, I can pull these out, show them to them, so they get an understanding of what it is we're trying to accomplish, the look that we're trying for. Now, for our broadcast tonight, I have an in-studio monitor. I never shoot with that in real life because they will simply look at the monitor, and if there's anything wrong, and we just did 10 minutes before broadcast time, she was all worried about certain aspects of the wardrobe, and it was like, okay. If she hadn't seen the picture, she wouldn't have worried about it. And things that we would normally retouch in Photoshop that the customer would never ever see. So this is, we just use this for convenience of the broadcast, but never in real life. So I'm going to do this right now. This is kind of one look. Now you're not wearing jeans right now, but you see kind of the flow and how she's looking down towards, kind of glancing down like that. Perfect. Just now, I just want to stop this pose here. There's a rule in portrait photography that says the nose should never break the line of the far cheek. It is in this case. I stopped following that rule 100 years ago. If any of you are thinking, oh my God, her nose cuts through the far cheek, so what? I'm not going to worry about it. I am a little worried about the dark shadow there, so I'm going to answer that by having her take a tiny step backwards. And that means more light's going to get on her face from the opposing light. And it's a little bit better in camera. My studio monitor is just a television, so it looks a bit contrasty. But as I look at it on my camera preview, it's actually just pretty darn good. I'm hitting every wrong button I can. There we go. Yeah, it's just fine. So the other advantage to this lighting is not only some added drama, but it adds contour, adds shape. If you had light coming on her directly from the front, it's going to make her look very two-dimensional, like a cardboard cutout. The fact that the light is coming from this angle, you can really see it accentuates the cleavage, and you can really see kind of the curves that we like in boudoir photography. Now, some people have asked about, should I use a hair light? And that's optional. You could hook up a hair light if you want. 9 times out of 10, you don't really need it in this lighting. You could do it fine with just these 2 lights. If I did want to, I'd put a third light in the far corner with a snoot and maybe just very, very low, just adding a touch of light. But you don't really need a kicker because the main lights are already kickers. So let's try a few more, just altering the pose a little bit. Now in this pose, look at where her eyes are looking. This is something that I like to watch for in any pose, never mind this one. But when I ask people to look to the side, ironically, that's exactly what they do. But it looks kind of freaky from the camera position. So I usually guide them. I'll say, point your nose at the light, but bring your eyes back to some other point, like right about there. And I'll just watch. I'm centering the pupils. When we've got it, we shoot. You see how much better that is. Doesn't look freaky at all. So keep in mind, with glancing sideways, you really have to watch where the pupils are aimed at. Okay, let's just do a few more, but keep the eyes going like we did. So I'm going to shoot this almost all as 3/4 length, and you can see that the dark wall, or the medium gray wall, has gone practically dark slate gray or almost black. If I did want to throw another light on that wall, I could put a gel on it and add some color. Now remember, when gelling either a white or light gray surface, your gels aren't going to be rich and saturated. They're going to be very weak and pastel. But if that's the look you're going for, nothing wrong with it. So let's try a few more. And this time, you can actually also glance down at the floor a little bit. Yeah, like that. Good. Remember, the boudoir is a lady in her boudoir, her bedroom. Presumably getting ready. So I think this is pretty good. I like this series. Now, you also notice from camera 2's position, I believe you can see both lights. I have the light on camera left, or her right, is down lower. It's basically the top of that light is at the top of her head. The bottom of that light is just above her knees. The opposite light, what is effectively the fill light, is up much higher, so that the center of the light is actually aimed pretty much at the top of her head. Now we can play with these lighting angles all we want. We can drop that light down and really get more accent on the far elbow. Look at how on this picture that's on monitor right now, you can see the effect of the two different lighting positions where we get a bright light down her right arm from the main light, and you can see how the left arm is lit only at the top and falling off down towards the elbow. So if you didn't like that and wanted to correct it, the easiest answer is just lower the fill light. Mine is on a boom arm. I just go over to it. It would take me just a couple of seconds to lower it down. So really no big worries about that. Lots of creativity here. Now, I think what I'm going to do, and if Dave would assist me with this, I meant to get it ready before, in the storage locker for the camera stuff on the bottom is a fan. In fact, there's two. I love blowing hair. Now these fans are amazingly strong. If you haven't seen them before, they're made by Stanley. You'll see one on camera in a second. They're not just an average fan. I've had every fan in the world, and this is the only one that I found that really works for photography. Okay. Bring it out, Dave. Let's take a look. So that camera can see this fan, kind of, a little bit. So just you can buy this at a hardware store, Lowe's or any of those places, Home Depot, and it's got a nozzle. They're actually designed for shooting fumes out of a small space when you're trying to get the smell of smoke out of a room or something. They're very powerful. We usually use them at their lowest setting. But this means that we can just gently lift the model's hair without having her be like in a tornado. So let's give it a try. We're just going to try and lift her hair a little bit. Good. Not really getting the hair effect. There we go. Maybe Dave, just tilt it up while you're on your knee. Yeah, there we go. It's a little bit of tornado-ish. Now you have to watch the arm position here, which models will do, but it blocks the light from her face. So you got to tell them, throw the elbow back. Now we can also do a lot of negative space. Let's try basically something like this. Okay. So, yeah, one hand just hooked in. Actually, swing your hips towards the main light. Yeah, just turn. Okay, that's good. Higher, and then your head just turns back, kind of towards the fan a little bit. Crank it a bit more. Take a tiny step backwards. Okay, another step backwards. Right there. And turn towards that light a little bit. Now eyes back to me. So I got a little bit of Rembrandt lighting going here. Just want to see how that works. And this is a good time for a lot of negative space kind of shots. Side step to that light. Right there. Right there. Look to that light. Eyes down. Nice. Let's keep it going. I like the wind. Okay. So, variation on this theme. You're going to be turned towards the light on the wall and cross over in front, and then your head turns back to the... Only this is typically done as kind of a nude shot with nothing showing. So I just rolled my chair over the camera tether. There we go. Yeah. Now, pretend if you were topless, how you could use your hands to cover up. Like that. What's he saying?
Tether.
Oh, tether's not working. That was because I rolled over it with the chair. Awesome. Now, some accessories, which we don't necessarily have for the shoot, but what I normally have standing by, we have some costume jewelry. We have long strands of white pearls, well, white plastic actually, but they look like pearls. And those are great little accessories for shots in exactly this lighting. I just say that because I looked at a picture where we used some of them. So, oh, you do? Okay. Let's do a wardrobe change and a pearl change. Okay. So, while she's doing a wardrobe change, let's see if you have any questions. And I get coffee. That's okay. Well, let's use that. That's good. Okay. I'm going to have to sing and dance. Sorry? Yeah. This is where we would insert a commercial. But we're advertising free tonight. I hope you appreciate that.
Gold member program.
There's a good idea. Yeah. Being coached off camera. Now, we always broadcast these things live, and they're free to anybody who cares to watch. But after that, the recordings are proprietary to the Photography Schoolhouse Gold Member Program. It's the way it's got to be, because these people pay money for the privilege of being able to watch these videos at any time. So I get a lot of messages after a broadcast from people who say, I'm sorry I missed last night's broadcast, when are you going to do it again? The only way of seeing that is in our Gold Member Library. Now, you not only get access to the Gold Member Library, which has, I don't even know, it's got to be a couple of hundred videos by now of different productions on different subjects, all related to running a photography business. Whether you're shooting boudoirs or weddings or families or babies, newborns, we've got just about every subject covered off from many different photographers, not always me. So you see different people's approach to things. But there are other Gold Member privileges as well, including our marketing calendar and things that obviously the Insider Club gets. So this is a good time to join. If you want to go to www.pshgold.com and take a look. You can join monthly and just pay $19.95. You can take out an annual, which you get a big discount on, obviously. Plus, you get a whole bunch of freebies. Take out an annual membership and we shower you with good stuff. So take a look at that, pshgold.com. And now for this song. Okay, question about lighting. So, I mentioned that we use this new device from Elinchrom. These lights are all new. Of course, it went to sleep while we were shooting. But the idea of the D-lights, this is called the D-light series of lights. They're built-in radio, so you don't have to buy radio slaves. You can control them with applications like an iPhone app, an app that runs on your computer. Whatever you want to do, you can control them. Or you can get up off your chair and go over and do it manually like the good old days. But I happen to like the speed and convenience of an app on my phone because I can jump up, or don't have to jump up, get a ladder out, climb up to my hair light and change the power. I can just do that from my camera position. I can also do that from my on-camera transmitter as well. It's got some controls, power is one of them. You get way more control on the phone app and the desktop app. And they're surprisingly less expensive. I paid a lot less for these than I did for my original set of Elinchroms back in, well, like 20 years ago. Yeah, and our model's all good to go, so let's bring her back. Okay, so I'm trying not to run over my tether again. From Michael, should the model angle her leg closest to the camera in front to accent the hip, or does it matter? Sure, it matters, and there are times when we do that. So, not a bad question, Michael. Let's try and demonstrate it. So, particularly with a shot like this. But what I want to do is I want to angle you the other way. So the hip goes, wow, why would I do that? Because the light on camera left is lower down and it's going to catch your hip, where the light on camera right's higher up and it's only going to catch her face. So now if you just cross this leg in front of the other one, just basically the reverse, and then it really pops the hip out. Let's take a shot. Nice, and we just keep changing where, yeah, like that. Kind of a pin-up-y kind of a pose. Nice. Now, necklaces and bling. I mentioned the pearls. She happens to have kind of a gold necklace that's pretty cool. This is a good time to bling it up. You know, your model or, well, your customer comes in with a bunch of stuff. We have some costume jewelry here, but I like to use their own stuff whenever possible. Now, another thing about real people in the real world and lighting like this. Most ladies that are paying for boudoir sessions are really typically in their mid-30s, sometimes 40s. We've had them as old as up to 68. The younger girls don't really buy boudoir sessions. They're young and they're perfect, as Shayna is. So I don't have a lot of corrections to do, but wardrobe selection's really going to play into your real customers because they're moms and they have stretch marks and they have cellulite and they have all sorts of things that they're worried about, and it's our job as photographers to deal with all that. The trouble with this light right now, with the lights coming from the side, you know how light coming in at an angle is going to really pick up and accentuate the texture of anything. So it doesn't matter if they had a tiny little scar from 25 years ago, you're going to see it in this. So if they've got a lot of problems with a lot of stretch marks, I change the wardrobe. Have them come in with bustiers or negligés or things that cover the midriff section, and we'll just, you know, make them snug and still get the shapes and the curves that we want. If they have problems with varicose veins, we'll do lying poses with bits of material to cover off problem areas. So if you get a customer coming in, heavy acne scars from their teenage years, maybe it's a good time not to use this lighting. There's lots of other lightings we can do, but just warning you, if you do this, I'd pick and choose my subjects pretty carefully. So let's take a few more. And there I go again, running over the tether. So I really want to show the curves in this one, and that pretty much worked. Now, we do a lot of back poses too. If you turn and face right away from me. Now, these are typically done nude. And most customers don't even think they want to do this. And as a male photographer, you'd think I have trouble. I should point this out. As a male photographer, I have a female assistant in the room with me all the time. And I never go near the model, and if she asks to make a change or an adjustment, I turn my back, and it's always my assistant who is there to help them with that. But once they get the idea of this pose, they almost all go for it. So this is great if they just want to wear a set of underwear and be bare from the waist up, because nothing's going to show. And then even if you go straight up and down, like and straight back to me, throw that elbow forward a little bit. Long chains of pearls or something going down her back. Always awesome. Also, quite a number of our customers seem to wind up with tattoos on either the butt or the lower back. This is a good way of showing those. And my flash is misbehaving now. So you get the idea. Now, there's one other shot, Dave, if you can help. There's that light, I think it's beside you, the one on the low stand. Travis put it somewhere. That's it. Let's hook that light up.
Okay.
So there's another lighting setup I do. Whenever I do this one, I always do this other one as well. And it looks pretty good. There's a power bar right down here. So I'm just going to set this up. Hopefully the stand's going to be tall enough. Is that it? No. Let's use that one instead.
What do you need?
I need more height. Is that a 10?
10.
All right, that should work. I'll trade you. Maybe. Now this light head is very low. It's only 100 watt seconds. And believe me, you don't want a powerful one for this. Here, while you're down there. No wonder the button won't work. I'm pressing the wrong one. Excuse me. Now, come all the way back to the wall. Just rest your back on the wall for a second. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is get this fishtail of light on the wall. I'm using a 10-degree honeycomb grid, and I'm just going to aim it till I get that little pattern of light on the wall. Sometimes I have an assistant push it in like this, which we're going to get Dave to do. Just tilt it back to the wall, practically touching. Okay, now talk about dramatic lighting. Let's take a test. So Shayna, with this one, you've got to look pretty much into that light. So, very, very stark, contrasty lighting. It's easy enough to fix if I wanted to lighten up those shadows just a touch. While this light is still here, I just need to pivot it into a fill position. And that's probably too much. Too much fill. See if I can use my fancy new toy. I know what you're going to say. I could have gone over there and done it myself by now. But when you buy toys, I'm obligated to use them. So I'm going to cut that fill light way down. So I could just play with this lighting. I might even cut that one down further, but you get the idea. So highly dramatic. And I'm going to Yeah, just set that light down for a sec, Dave. Now, if it's flat and even, let's try that pose you're doing right there. Just a subtle turn. May need your hair off your eye on that side. Kind of like the shadow going here. Now, reverse the pose, facing the wall, and crank your head into the light. Right there. There goes the tether. Every time. Okay, I gotta resync. Take a step away from the light. So Dave, do me a favor. Just swing that light so it's not on her anymore. Swing it back to its original position. Thanks. And then so as an accent to the lighting we're already doing, some of this can be pretty darn cool. So that's basically it. It's dramatic. It's easy to do. There's the camera. Dramatic, easy to do, and pretty fast to do as well. Where am I now? Now I'm over here. So, one last time for questions, if there are any. Travis, can you bring up the question window? It went away. From Tracy, have I missed? Thought it started at 7 p.m. Well, I don't know. We started at 7 p.m. Eastern, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there, Tracy. Okay, well, if no questions, that was the subject tonight, dramatic lighting. It helps set you apart because most boudoir photographers that I see aren't doing this kind of thing, and that's the key to marketing. Do something different. Now, it doesn't mean that I won't do bedroom sets. Obviously, I will. People still like them. It's just something in my kit that other photographers don't do. So with that, I'm going to call it a good day. For those gold members who are watching tonight, this will be in the forum tomorrow. And stay tuned next week for another production on pro lighting in the home studio. Thanks.